Back up right now. I'm gonna break his...
The movie starts with a man helping Kris illegally cross the border and enter Colombia. After a while, the man becomes greedy and demands more money. His friend also joins him, while Kris warns them not to do this. The men attack him, but Kris takes them down easily. The scene shifts to Elisa, a drug lord Vicente's daughter, returning home and being warmly welcomed by her dad. Vicente loves his daughter and asks her to join him at a party. Though hesitant at first, Vicente manages to persuade his daughter. At night, Alex is done with her day at her bar when she notices a mysterious man, El Corvo, sitting. She approaches him, asking him to leave, but El Corvo counter-questions her.
Have you tried this cake? Have you tried this cake?
He makes her taste his cake and asks for her review. As El Corvo tries the cake, he dislikes it. And before he may harm her, a policewoman arrives and rescues Alex. The policewoman has to let El Corvo go, as he has not harmed Alex. As Alex gets into the police car, El Corvo strikes, kills the policewoman, and turns to Alex, revealing he is a psychopath assassin. The next day, Elisa is on her way to school when Kris, pretending to be a homeless guy, starts cleaning their car and forces one of the guards out. He easily overpowers the guards while Elisa gets a chance and escapes. Kris takes the car and stops Elisa from fleeing. He grabs her and puts her inside the trunk, leaving the guards helpless. After that, Vicente investigates the bodyguards about the attacker, but they don't know anything about him. Maddened, Vicente beats them badly. Vicente calls his men and orders everyone on the streets to be his eyes and ears. At the same time, Kris gets sick of Elisa kicking and screaming inside the trunk and stops the car. As he opens the trunk, she attacks and tries to run away, but Kris catches up to her. He calms her down and shows her a picture, revealing he had been friends with her mother before Elisa was born. Still, Elisa doesn't believe him. Kris tells Elisa her mother asked him to come and rescue her from Vicente. Elisa informs him her mother has been dead for 5 years. Kris recalls the promise he made to Eleanor.
Your mother made me promise, send you, and I would come and take you away from Vicente.
Kris requests her to get back into the car, but Elisa asks for assurance that he won't harm her. Kris takes out his gun and places it on the ground. Elisa grabs the gun, and, to test if it is loaded, she fires a bullet. Eventually, Elisa gets into the car, pointing the gun at Kris's head. Moments later, she tries to force Kris to turn the car back, but Kris doesn't listen. He provokes her into shooting him.
You gonna shoot me?
Yeah.
I think so.
And as Elisa tries, she realizes Kris has tricked her.
Oh, I see. You put an empty shell.
They travel for a while when Kris notices the car is running out of gas. He stops at a nearby gas station and warns Elisa to stay inside the car. As Kris refills the car, Elisa notices some men nearby and rushes to them, asking for help. Kris tries to reason with them that she is lying, but the men don't listen. He begs them not to fight with him, but they don't get it due to the language barrier. As the men attack, Kris takes them down one by one. Eventually, he knocks them all down. In the meantime, Elisa reaches out to Vicente, but before she can say anything, Kris takes her back to the car. He ties her hands, but she starts kicking his seat. During the heated argument, Kris ends up revealing he is her real father.
I'm your father! I'm your real father.
Elisa is shocked to hear this and tells him she is hungry. In the meantime, Vicente orders his right-hand man, Nick, to double the reward for whoever brings Elisa back. Nick sneaks aside and reaches out to El Corvo instead. Nick informs him about Elisa's kidnapping, giving him an opportunity to get even with Vicente. Kris takes her to a diner. While eating her meal, Elisa questions him if he is her real father, or has he been her whole life. Kris replies he has been in prison for 15 years. Kris looks at Elisa's diamond necklace and points out how much she reminds him of her mother. Elisa gets emotional, saying she misses her mom a lot. She wonders why mother killed herself, but Kris tells her Vicente got her killed. Just then, a man named Slick shows up with his men and holds Kris at gunpoint. Kris distracts him by saying the gun's safety is still on and quickly attacks. But while he fights two of Slick's henchmen, Slick manages to grab Elisa and escapes, slashing Kris's car tires before leaving. Inside, Kris takes down the henchman with ease. When he rushes out and sees his flat tires, he's furious. He heads back to the diner and tortures someone for information about where Slick took Elisa. Meanwhile, Slick delivers Elisa to his boss in exchange for a reward. The boss tells Elisa she's just a package, a prize tied to the massive bounty her father placed. He warns her not to make things harder. He calls Vicente and lets Elisa speak to him in a proof-of-life call. After confirming she's okay, Vicente promises to come for her. But Elisa throws a curveball, asking if he had anything to do with her mother's death. Vicente is stunned. She then tells him that Kris claimed to be her real father, leaving Vicente furious. Suddenly, gunfire interrupts the moment. On the CCTV, the boss sees El Corvo killing anyone in his way. Panicked, he hides Elisa and prepares to face him. El Corvo takes out every attacker with deadly precision, whether it's a shootout or hand-to-hand combat. The boss exchanges a few shots with him but quickly gets scared. El Corvo continues his brutal rampage. Panicked, the boss rushes back to his office to call for backup, but Elisa knocks him out. Meanwhile, El Corvo keeps fighting off the enemies, showing no mercy to anyone, man or woman. Elisa grabs a gun and fires at him, but misses every shot. El Corvo locks onto her and starts moving in. Just then, Kris appears and challenges El Corvo in a fierce fight. During the clash, Kris notices El Corvo's metal hand and sees Elisa trying to escape. The two continue their intense battle. Eventually, El Corvo overpowers Kris and is about to finish him off when Elisa distracts him. She tries to run but ends up trapped. As El Corvo moves in to grab her, Kris jumps off the building with him, giving Elisa a chance to get away. Their fight continues until the boss shows up and fires at them. He runs out of bullets, and before he can reload, El Corvo reaches him and kills him. Outside, El Corvo and Kris fight once again. El Corvo gains the upper hand, until Elisa drives straight into him, saving Kris. The two escape together. Elisa tells Kris that Vicente never treated her mother badly, but Kris disagrees. He says Eleanor was strong enough to hide the fact that her life was a living hell. Kris then asks Elisa to change clothes, and when she returns, he opens up about the past. He reveals that he and Eleanor used to rob banks, and along with Vicente, they made a great team. Despite their crimes, they never hurt anyone. But when Eleanor got pregnant, Kris panicked. They had been spending all their money and living recklessly. That's when Vicente suggested one final big job. The heist went smoothly, and they made a fortune. But Vicente betrayed him, planting all the evidence to frame Kris. Kris ended up in prison, abandoned by the woman he loved. Still, Elisa refuses to believe Vicente killed Eleanor. Later, they sit in a park. Elisa hears a song and starts singing. Kris tells her it was her mother's favorite. She gets emotional, but Kris gently shifts the focus to her diamond necklace, saying he gave it to Eleanor because diamonds are strong and beautiful, just like her. Meanwhile, Vicente arrives at the boss's hideout and sees the destruction. He checks the CCTV footage and is afraid when he sees El Corvo is after Elisa. That night, Kris and Elisa look for a car and find an unlocked truck. Inside, Kris finds a map and figures out the location of a nearby airport. But Elisa refuses to leave the country. Kris tells her he plans to hand her over to her aunt, Carolina, just like he promised Eleanor. Elisa argues that he still has no proof Vicente killed her mother. Elisa tells Kris that she had a life and plans before he showed up, and now he just wants to dump her on her aunt and disappear again. Suddenly, the truck's owner arrives, but Kris scares him off. While he's distracted, Elisa jumps into the truck and drives off. Kris tries to stop her, but then notices El Corvo is following her. Elisa pulls over and tries to call Vicente, just as El Corvo catches up to her. Elisa runs from El Corvo, eventually finding a place to hide. She tries to ambush him, but he easily outsmarts her. Calmly, he asks if she's gifted herself this week, then forces her to eat an apple.
I don't like apple.
Have you tried this apple?
Elisa takes a bite and bolts again, searching for a hiding spot. She hears Kris's voice and calls out to him. Kris arrives and opens fire on El Corvo. In response, El Corvo grabs Elisa at gunpoint. Staying calm, he warns Kris about the consequences of shooting, but gives him the option to try. Kris refuses and surrenders. El Corvo makes him lie down with his hands behind his back and ties Elisa to a car. He then turns to Kris and asks, "Who are you?" Kris stays silent. Watching him suffer, Elisa finally blurts out the truth.
He's my father! He's my real father.
El Corvo knocks him out. Later, El Corvo leaves Kris hanging. Vicente finds him and admits he regrets not killing Kris earlier. But Kris insists Vicente needs him. He's willing to risk everything to save Elisa. Vicente doesn't buy it at first and nearly kills him, but instead orders his men to save Kris. While driving, Vicente tells Kris he didn't kill Eleanor. The two argue about their past betrayals. Suddenly, Vicente gets a call from El Corvo, who says he's waiting at the same place where Vicente once tried to kill him. Before hanging up, El Corvo tells him to thank Nick for revealing Elisa's location. Enraged, Vicente kills Nick. Kris questions him about El Corvo, and Vicente finally explains. He once hired El Corvo for a job, but El Corvo went too far. They tranquilized him and left 15 men to guard him, intending for Vicente to kill him personally. But when he arrived, all his men were dead, except El Corvo. Since that day, El Corvo became something else, a devil who just won't die. Soon, they reach the location. Vicente frees Kris and tells him to sneak in from the back, since El Corvo won't be expecting him. Vicente and his men enter the abandoned mill, with Kris following behind. After a while, Vicente hears a noise. When he checks, he finds all his men dead. Before he can react, El Corvo grabs him and takes him hostage, leading him straight to Elisa. Vicente is relieved to see Elisa alive but horrified to find her hand chained to a crane. El Corvo points to a saw, hinting he might need it. Vicente activates the crane and watches her suffer. Suddenly, he spots Kris and opens fire. El Corvo chases Kris while Vicente rushes up the crane, realizing Elisa is being pulled toward a crusher. He tries to stop it but fails. Meanwhile, Kris and El Corvo fight hand-to-hand. Kris gains the upper hand and begs El Corvo to stop and settle things with Vicente instead of hurting Elisa. El Corvo refuses. During the fight, El Corvo pauses to reveal he killed Eleanor. Vicente had hired him to make her disappear, but El Corvo went too far and killed her. Though injured, Kris fights back with everything he has and briefly overpowers El Corvo. Instead of finishing him, Kris runs to save Elisa. At the crane's end, he finds Vicente begging for help. But before Kris can act, El Corvo stabs him in the stomach. El Corvo then turns to Vicente and says he'll stop the crusher, but only if Vicente tells Elisa the truth. With no choice, Vicente confesses he hired El Corvo to kill Eleanor because she planned to take Elisa away. Elisa is heartbroken. El Corvo says the stop button is on the first floor but warns there's little time. As Elisa nears the crusher, Kris urges her to throw her diamond necklace into it. She does, and it frees her. El Corvo grabs her again, but Kris steps in and rescues her. They fight once more. This time, Vicente picks up the saw and slashes El Corvo's jugular, saving Kris. As he dies, El Corvo drags Vicente down with him. Both fall to their deaths. Elisa pleads with Kris not to die and leave her alone. Days later, she visits her mother's grave and Kris appears. He survived. Elisa thanks him for keeping his promise and finally calls him her dad, ending the film.